So here we are. I'm Charles Abel. I'm a freelance journalist working in the farming industry, and I'm joined here today by Tim Whitehead from Velcourt and Andrew Ward, a farmer from Lincolnshire, host of the cereals event in previous years. And we're going to have a little look at the issue of grassweed control. I just really want to focus, first of all, what are the key things about establishment that will impact on grassweed control, would you say? Tim, maybe taking you first.
Probably one of the most important things is actually getting the establishment right. Plant population, good consolidated even seed bed. If you get that right, everything else then actually comes into it and makes it a lot easier. Too thin a population, lack of competition, potentially will make your grassweed problem and other weeds significantly worse. Right.
And Andrew, yourself in Lincolnshire?
Yeah, well, I'd agree with Tim on that. I think obviously varieties come into it in a big way. You've got some varieties are better at coping with the grassweed competition, and you need a variety that's got very good establishment and very good vigour and good tillering capability to help the Atlantis control smother out the blackgrass.
When you're planning your cultivation strategy, you can't get away from the fact diesel costs a fortune, labour costs a fortune. You want to minimise the cost there.
Yeah.
And is that actually pushing in the wrong direction? We're ending up with quite difficult seed beds. Is that a problem?
Well, I think last year, definitely, yes, with the wet, everybody spent a lot more last year on seed beds, on cultivations, and actually on seed as well. When you look at your seed costs from last year, the 1,000 grain weights were a lot higher than what they have been for other years. And in my own situation, just on purely 1,000 grain weights, I actually used another 16 tonnes of seed on 950 acres of wheat, purely by down to 1,000 grain weights. So
but you've got to do that.
You've got to do
the population you need.
Yeah. If you start compromising at that date, everything else is then becoming a compromise thereafter.
Yeah.
There's no shortcuts.
What would your choice be on pre-emergence product? What would you be looking at?
Some have different situations where they work, and some have different situations where they don't work.
I was going to say,
tank mixing.
What's the feeling about what works best where?
Some of it depends on the season, to be honest. You find some seasons one product works better than another season.
So does that steer you sometimes beyond pre-emergence into peri-emergence, dare I mention it?
Well, I think you haven't got a choice some years. Last
year,
year, you haven't got a choice.
And it comes back to this compromising. Sometimes peri-emergence is needs. You have to, because you've missed the post-emergent. The peri-emergent is next best. And obviously the longer after post-emergence you leave it, your effect does go down.
And then you're following with post-em.
Yeah.
And what's your thinking around that?
Where you got blackgrass, there's only really one product at this point, and that's Atlantis. And it's something we've got to look after. And this is why you're pre-drilling, your post-emergent, and your Atlantis, it all interlinks. We've got to look after Atlantis. We're seeing resistance to it. It's only going to get worse. It isn't going to get better.
Does it?
No,
sadly.
It's only going to get worse. And there's no new chemistry coming through. So if you lose Atlantis, you're then looking at double breaks, and things like that.
Okay, what can you do with the Atlantis though? I mean, is there anything you could do with the timing there to minimise the risk of resistance building up?
Well, I've actually last year did it all. Most of it most of it after Christmas, and I did some before Christmas. But obviously the weather conditions didn't allow, and the crop stage and everything. But then I waited for the soil temperature to be right, and everything to be right temperature. Got it on optimum conditions, but obviously in those conditions the blackgrass doesn't stop growing. And by the time it was right conditions for the Atlantis to grow on, I suspect the blackgrass was too big.
So when are we talking? How
well,
far
we're talking about end of March time, early April,
really?
sometime before it was right.
So would you do that again?
Yeah, and then it's too dry last year, wasn't it? It was a very dry spring.
Would you do it again?
No, I mean I'm going to change tack this time, and I'm going to establish wheat crops a lot earlier and try and get them in earlier. Put more seed on and get them thicker to help competition. Change one or two varieties, and actually aim to get most of my Atlantis on before Christmas.
Right.
And try that.
Permitting.
Exactly, weather permitting. Yes.
It's actually spotting on us at the moment. Anything to do with the Atlantis on nozzle choice, water volumes, forward speed, these sort of things?
Well, I think there's a lot of trials work being done on that, hasn't there? And if you go much above 14k, you're compromising. Your sort of result you're going to achieve straight away.
Right.
So,
just in terms of what droplet coverage on the target.
And sort of turbulence behind the sprayer and that sort of thing, because you create a vortexing effect behind the sprayer, and obviously a flat fan nozzle rather than these air induction nozzles or anything with a big big droplet, and and 100 litres a hectare.
Have you noticed a difference?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you
On
imagine,
farm, you've seen
yeah.
this.
Yes,
If
definitely.
you imagine you're trying to hit, a blackgrass is a small spindly plant. You're trying to hit a very thin leaf.
Yeah.
If you use too big a nozzle, it's going to hit it and bounce off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the problem. And these air induction ones are absolutely great.
And you've
at
seen a
doing
difference in the field.
Yes.
Where,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
avoid the air induction.
Yes, definitely.
Flat
if you
fan.
can.
Control your
But-
speed. Don't
yeah,
rush.
No, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100
Challenging
litres.
when it's a
100
busy
litres.
autumn.
Yeah.
100 litres better than 200.
Oh, okay. So that
Yeah.
helps. Good stuff. Any other thoughts about making the most of grass weed control?
I think it's a rotational thing as well, and obviously when you get into this monoculture, you have the potential of building up resistance and things like that. So the continuous wheat, you're seeing Atlantis resistance coming in a lot quicker than when you're getting into a wheat rate rotation or other break crops as well.
Yeah.
Get some rape in there, and it
get
really.
some rape,
Yeah.
spring cropping as well. If you've got land suitable for spring cropping, it's
Yeah.
another very important weapon in controlling.
And you would
this weed.
actually take the gross margin hit of doing that.
Yeah.
When I do gross margins, I look at the gross margin of a rotation and not the gross margin of individual crop. And obviously, when you look at that, if you can follow, rape after wheat and then put a spring crop as well in, beans and things, and you look at the margin over with all of that compared to, say, hammering it when putting a lot of blackgrass chemicals on, you'll find your spring option is gives you a better gross margin.
Yeah, in the long run, it's just
Yeah.
protecting the weeds.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Well, I think we're suffering a little bit with the weather here now. Let's hope it dries up soon and we get a reasonable autumn. Thanks very much.
Thank you.